Welcome, everybody, to the Nations Bank World Team Trials inside the Richmond Coliseum. The athletes are preparing now for their second day of competition. Yesterday, the compulsories took place, and this is how the field looks after that first day. Dominique Dawes, to nobody's great surprise, is leading by just under half a point. Carrie Strug is in second place. Remember, there's 6 spots available, with the 7th spot saved for the alternate. So right now we go over to Dominique Dawes, who's the final performer in the first rotation. She led after yesterday's events, and now she's taking her first attempt, her only attempt at the uneven bars in the first rotation.
This is actually not Dominique's strongest event, John, but she has a great place in the rotation. She's last on the uneven bars. This is her only release move, not a high-flying one, but it meets the requirements. Dominique just wants to get through a clean routine here. That's her main objective. Here comes a 1.5 pirouette. That's how she gets most of her bonus. She's hitting her handstands very well. And her uprise to handstand locked out at the top. Another full pirouette, and setting up for her huge dismount. A pull out, 2 flips, and 1 twist on the second somersault. A great job for Dominique.
Dominique Dawes told us earlier her goal is not to get great scores at this meet, merely to safely qualify for the U.S. team.
We're going to take another look at her dismount. Here it comes. Now she does the twist on the second somersault, which makes it more valuable. It's an E move, so she gets 2/10 of bonus. See 2 flips, and the second flip, she does the twist. A nice landing.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Neighbor, and welcome to this gymnastics competition. As you know, it's a 2-day contest. The goal is to find the 6 best all-around gymnasts to represent our country at the World Championships later next month. Now, you might notice by the results that one name is suspiciously absent. Shannon Miller from the United States has been given the opportunity to use her scores from the national championships against this field. It's a petition that she has earned the right to do so on the nature of the fact that they say she's overtrained, overcommitted, overcompeted. So not wishing to injure their athlete, they're going to carry those scores over. And joining me is Maura Driscoll, our gymnastics expert. And Maura, what is the story behind Shannon Miller's not competing here?
Well, if Shannon's total all-around score from the national championships holds up among the top 5 all-around scores from this meet, she will be placed on this World Championship team. Now, as you know, John, this is a very likely occurrence, which means that tonight's competitors are actually vying for just 6 spots. So you can imagine how fierce the competition will be.
Now, of course, Shannon Miller will probably make the team. Dominique Dawes already in a good position, but who else should we look for?
Well, Dominique Dawes, as you know, dazzled her way into this meet, winning the all-around in every event at the national championships. So look for her to do some more dazzling tonight. Another 92 Olympian is Carrie Strug, and she's no stranger to World Championship teams. She's been on 3 of them. Carrie's had a tough time this year with injuries and coaching changes, but tonight she has something to prove. We certainly know she's capable of making a world team. The question is, can she put it all together and qualify here? Some other names you'll want to pay attention to: Amanda Borden and Larissa Fontaine. Both girls represented the U.S. at the individual world, and some new faces, Amy Chow and J.C. Phelps, who will be fighting for those last spots on the team.
Great new faces, a lot of good performances to look forward to. We'll bring you that action when the second rotation of the women's gymnastics continues after this short break. Dominique Dawes on the bars, a 9.9, and so at the end of the first rotation, Dawes continues to hold on to a comfortable lead over Carrie Strug. And in spots 4 and 5, Amy Chow and J.C. Phelps flipped positions on the basis of the first rotation in today's optionals. And here's J.C., one of those young up-and-comers you talked about, 4'8", 82 pounds.
Come on, J.C. J.C. really is a true talent. She's a tremendous athlete. Come on, J.C. She's going to be doing a half-on, half-off layout front. It is a 10-0 value vault.
Phelps out of Fairfield, Ohio, just turned 15 years old last month.
There she goes. And a little pike in the after flight. You can see it was supposed to be a completely stretched position, but she seemed a little curved there. We'll take another look at it from this angle. Good strong run. And a low pre-flight, which is what you want. She does a half twist, and in the air, see, she has to kind of bend her knees, anticipating the landing. Now remember, she's flipping forward, and it's very difficult to land this because you don't see the ground until it's right at your feet.
J.C. placed in the top 6 at the 1994 U.S. Nationals in 3 of the 4 apparatus. The vault was not one of those. Placed 5th on bars, beam, and the floor exercise, 6th in the all-around. So this would be considered her weaker event.
Definitely.
Off of that meet.
Don't make her hold again.
In fact, the U.S. is kind of a weak vaulting team, so this is where we really need to focus our energies as we head towards the World Championships. She's going to try to better her first vault. As the rules state, we will be keeping the score of the best vault. The gymnasts are allowed to do the same vault of the same category.
9.65 was the score given to her first vault.
A very good score for JC. Much better, excuse me, John, much better than championships. And the same thing, a little bit better, but a big step on the landing, so it's probably going to be a wash for JC. But she'll take that score of a 9.65 because at championships, she was in the 9.3 range.
What happened on that one was you put a lot more energy into it.
Mary Lee Tracy is giving her comments, the coach.
You tried to rise, but you didn't keep your chest in.
And here we go, her half twist, and she kind of threw her heels a little. Exactly. What Mary Lee Tracy is saying, she tried to correct her first vault, driving her heels a little bit more. She tried to do the right thing, but it served against her because she sort of over-rotated in the second vault.
Coming up next on the bars is Carrie Strug, the youngest member of the Barcelona Olympic team. In August in 1984, in an event in Palm Springs, she had a difficult problem slipping off the high bar and injuring herself rather severely.
This is the compulsory bar routine. You see she tries to say
for a couple of months, including the U.S. National, she had to petition for the right to compete here, and as the preliminary results indicate, it was well worthwhile. She's currently in second place.
She's going to have a huge sigh of relief when this bar routine is done. She got through compulsories, but this is the optional routine. She has two major release moves. Here comes one, a Tokachev, very nicely done. She is such an intense competitor. And her second, a Jaeger, beautiful, up high, caught away from the bar, which is exactly what you want to do. She's getting ready for her dismount, and you know she can't wait to get her feet on the ground. A full twisting double back to a perfect landing, John. That is so exciting for Carrie Strug. She overcame her fears. She did the same bar routine that she did at the compulsories last night. She didn't hold back, and she didn't hold back tonight. Here's another look at it. This is her dismount, a full twisting double back, nice tight body position, and she rocks the landing.
And so as she lands on the mat, we have an official score for J.C. Phelps over in the vault area. It's a 9.65, the better of her two vaults. Now Carrie Strug is awaiting for her marks on the bars, and it's got to be a relief to get that behind her. A very nervous, always moving young lady.
She certainly is. As I said, she's an intense and focused competitor. And we all have those meet nerves and competition day, that meet adrenaline. But in her case, she really needs to make it serve her rather than work against her. So she has to kind of have a little fun out there.
Back in the vault area, currently in fourth place, Amy Chow.
And she doesn't have a strong vault. She does a handspring front pike with a half twist. Very good, but it's not worth a perfect 10. It's only worth a 9.9. So she's going to be working over the years to upgrade her vault. This is actually her weakest event. She's a better competitive vaulter than she is in practice.
Amy is out of San Jose, California. A junior in high school, a 4.0 student. To no big surprise, many gymnasts are that good.
Now this is a handspring pre-flight. She drives her heels over her head, separates her leg. This can be confused at times for another vault called the Cuervo. What she's really doing is a handspring front pike with a half twist, but at times it looks like a handspring half twist with a back pike.
Back over on the bars, Carrie Strug's official marks, 9.675.
She absolutely has to be pleased with that, John.
Good marks, and again, they're not trying to be the best they've ever been. They're just trying to be one of the top 6 in the country.
Exactly right. They want to make this squad, and some of them are playing it safe intentionally, and then they're going to add their tough skills for the World Championships in November. She'll do the same vault. Handspring front pike with a half twist, a bigger hop on the landing. I think she'll keep the score of the first vault, but a nice job for Amy.
A 9.6 on the first vault is the score to beat. Amy Chow has been playing piano for 11 years, a very disciplined young woman.
She's an amazing student, piano player, gymnast. She really is an impressive young athlete. A big hop in the landing you could see there. We'll look at it from one more angle here. You can see how it's a little questionable. Does she do a half twist back, or does she do a front with a half twist.
We'll be back with the score for Amy Chow as the second rotation of gymnastics continues here in Richmond after this. Back in Richmond, Amy Chow's official score, a 9.625 on the vault. And now our attention comes back to the vault runway, where Amanda Borden is getting ready to attempt her first of two vaults. She's currently in third place, just ahead of Amy Chow.
Amanda, in the 2 years she's been on the national team, has continued to improve and impress, coming off a great finish at championships. A handspring front pike, very nice body position, but a step on the landing. Now again, this vault is only worth a 9.8, so you see some of the inexperienced competitors are not doing the round-off entry vault, so they'll be wanting to upgrade as we get closer. Here we go again. Nice tight legs together, beautiful pikes, tight toes. She anticipates the landing a little, but has to step out of it. But a very nice vault. Remember, only worth a 9.8 because vaults are valued at a particular score.
Amanda Borden represented the United States at the World Championships in the individual events, placing 8th in the uneven bars at the games in Brisbane, Australia. Coach Mary Lee Tracy is on the sidelines and a very strong encourager of both these athletes, Amanda as well as her teammate, JC.
Yes.
And Mary Lee Tracy has the chance to be the only coach who will have two athletes going to the World Championships. It's a very good chance. She will do the same vault again, a handspring front pike.
Amanda's score on her first vault, a 9.6.
Remember, this time she's going to want to stick the landing. Same nice tight body position, a little bit better. You can see she started to open up. She didn't want to anticipate the ground so much by bending her knees too soon, but Mary Lee Tracy's happy, and so is Amanda.
Did you feel like you could do it? Did you feel the vertical?
There you go, drives her heels, really nice, tight legs, tight pike, opens it up, sees the ground, boom. Good job.
Amanda Borden getting some encouragement, and now she's taking off some of that apparatus. We go over to the uneven bars where Kelly Davis is our next competitor. And Kelly is out of Parkland, Florida, 16-year-old, 4'10", 91 pounds. She wants to be a physical therapist when she grows up.
Kelly had a strong finish at USA Championships, finishing 7th all around, so she's definitely vying for one of those last 6 spots, the 6th spot on this team. This isn't one of her strongest events, but she does do a pretty dynamic dismount. Her body position isn't as locked out as you would like. There's a little transition to the low bar. You can see she hasn't done much of the high-flying release moves that we're seeing tonight. There's a full pirouette, a little pike down. She's not flowing as nicely. Now she's getting ready for her dismount, a double layout, 2 flips, a completely stretched position, too low on the landing. She under-rotated and had to put her hands down. She seemed a bit tentative, as if she was holding back. And, you know, I've been watching her in practice over the past few days, and she spends most of her time on bars. You can tell it's not really her favorite. This is her dismount again. A double layout. Nice body position, but really under-rotates and has to put her hands down. That's at least a 3/10 deduction. See, she pikes there. The body position is nice, but can't quite get her hips over and has to put her hands down.
So a frustration for Kelly Davis as she tries to regain her composure for the next rotation. Amanda Borden over in the vault earned a 9.7 on her second vault, so that will be the score she carries with her into the next rotation.
That is a significant score because the vault was only worth a 9.8.
Coming up after this short break, another great gymnast we talked about at the top of the show, Dominique Dawes, when we return. Welcome back to the World Team Trials here in Richmond. John Neighbor with more Driscoll. As you're looking at Kelly Davis, her official marks on the uneven bars a 9.0, and she was very dejected when she received that score because it essentially drops her out of contention for making one of the top spots to travel to Germany later this year. Now over in the vault area, Dominique Dawes, our leader, and the start of today, and then the leader at the beginning of this rotation. Dominique Dawes, if it had not been for Shannon Miller's success, might have been considered a dynasty of her own. We had a chance to spend some time to get the inside look at this awesome Dawson. In 1991, a young 14-year-old named Dominique Dawes broke onto the international scene with the highly charged floor routines that mixed athleticism with tremendous tumbling. Even then, the crowd knew that she would be something special. Dawes was quickly welcomed onto the U.S. Olympic team where her efforts contributed to the bronze medal won by the Americans, something the U.S. women had never done in a non-boycotted games. The bronze was her only medal in Barcelona, where teammate Shannon Miller won 5 medals at those games. While Miller and Kim Zmeskal were competing with each other for the country's acclaim, Dawes quietly honed her skills and polished her performances. Along with Coach Kelly Hill, Dawes realized that there was still much work to be done. She was quickly rewarded with a perfect 10 in a USA-Japan dual meet and 5 titles at the U.S. Nationals, the first time that's happened in over 25 years. Officials were now handing Shannon Miller silver medals while Dominique earned the gold. Some suggested that a rivalry exists.
I don't think there's a rivalry at all. I think it's a competition and everyone's competing, I think, against themselves to come and be the best that they can be. And that's what we're doing. And it just happens that Shannon and I are wanting to, or like that.
I think Nationals gave her a lot of confidence. So she was pretty scared going into Nationals. And this time I hope to see a little more confidence in her routine and a little more play so that the performance factor comes up.
There is little doubt that her performances have led to greater poise and pride. That will make her a force to be reckoned with.
There's a little bit more pressure of being right now up at the top and trying to hold it there. But I'm trying to just let all that pressure go and just try to be really confident and consistent at what I'm doing.
Dominique, who turns 18 in November, coached by Kelly Hill. Her first attempt at the vault here.
Aryuchenko 1.5 twist, the only one in the meet, and a very good job. This has been a temperamental vault for her. She over-rotated it at the World Championships in Brisbane. She was leading the competition going into vault, and she dropped to 5th.
Stay in so you can find it. Stay in a little bit more in the chest. Same entry. Gorgeous job.
I have to tell you, John, Dominique has been extolled for doing this vault because it's more difficult than some of the other 10-0 value vaults, but she's pretty gutsy. So another look at it. You see she has to do 1.5 twists, come around and land it, and that's a tougher landing than seeing her landing as well. Another angle here. The round off onto the board, sort of a back handspring onto the vault. 1.5 twists, completely stretched position, a little cross of the legs, but a good job.
At the last 2 World Championships, the vault was the final event in a rotation for Dominique Dawes, and that pressure seemed to have gotten to her there. This must be a relief to have that behind her now.
I think so. Her coach, Kelly Hill, told us that they do have a history on vault, and they really want to change history as we head towards World Championships.
9.825, the marks earned for the first of 2 vaults.
That's a very good score. The same vault again. Very great, excellent landing. That has got to make her happy. And Kelly Hill.
You are unbelievable. Okay, feel better? Are you ready for this meet? Tell me.
Yeah.
You are.
We're going to take another look at it. Watch this. She gets nice height, 1.5 twist, and she nails the landing. A great job for Dominique.
So now our attention turns to Larissa Fontaine, who's over at the uneven bar. She's on the bubble in 6th place at the start of the rotation.
Larissa petitioned into this meet because she also, like Carrie Strug, was injured and could only compete compulsories at the USA Championships. She had surgery on her right elbow in July, but she has become world famous for her bar routine. Definitely her strongest event. She does 3 release moves in a row. Wait till you see. Here's one, a Tkachev. There's another, a Ginger. And then between the bars, an excellent job. That's called the Pack Salto. And there's another one, actually. That was the only release move, if you remember, that Dominique had in her routine. She also does the only Arabian double front in the world, her dismount. Here we go. In fact, an excellent landing. She's waiting for the FIG to possibly name that skill after her. That may be called the Fontaine in a few months or so. Let's watch her dismount again. It's the only one in the meet. It's called an Arabian double front. You see she has to do a half twist and then 2 flips forward. Again, difficult to land. Here's her 3 release moves in a row. Tkachev, beautiful, nice and high. And her Ginger, kind of a backwards flip with a half twist, catches the bar, and then a little layout in between the bars. What a great job.
Fontaine is nicknamed the lawyer on the team. She speaks on behalf of many of the athletes in conversations with the coach. Nice advocate. Dominique score over on the vault area, a 9.90. That's as high a mark as we've seen in this contest.
And the other 9.9, she got it on bars. So she is going to be tough to beat, just as we anticipated.
Carrie Strug, we saw earlier competing. She'll be up in the floor exercise when we come back after this, an event where she scored a 9.9 in the compulsories. We're back once again to the Nations Bank World Team Trials. John Neighbor, Maura Driscoll. This is halfway through the optionals. Dominique Dahl still leads comfortably, and we seem to have a tie for 4th place between J.C. Phelps and Amy Chow. Those are the 2 young up-and-comers, both of whom are right now in position to make the U.S. team to compete at the World Championships. Fontaine scored a 9.7 on her bars routine before the break. Now J.C. Phelps, as we said, tied for 4th, will be doing the beam routine.
Now, if there's any event, John, that makes a difference in competitions like this, it's the balance beam. A front onto the beam, very nicely done. This is actually her favorite event. Here comes her big tumbling pass. 4 elements. Flip-flop, layout, layout. She's usually warming up. Another layout there. I'm surprised she didn't do it. The gymnasts are required to do an element down on the beam, like we just saw. Remember, this event requires so much mental concentration and focus. Nice jump combination. JC is just 15 years old, the youngest competitor in this meet. Another front on the beam into an immediate jump. She looks very confident on this event. She's not feeling the pressure of a meet of this caliber. JC has very pretty toes and tight legs, pretty lines and body positions. Setting up for her dismount. Back handspring, double back. A little bounce on the landing, but a very nice routine. She stayed on. That's what she wanted to do. I think they were playing it a little safe. Maybe she fell off on her tumbling series.
You held back a little bit, but that's okay. Sometimes it's okay.
This is her first tumbling pass. She normally does 3 layouts, but we're just going to see 2. Layout, step out to a really good landing.
That's what matters. What matters. You know you made a mistake, right? So you'll learn from it. Next time we don't have the same mistake.
Another look at her dismount here. You can hear Mary Lee Tracy. I think she was supposed to throw that 3rd layout. Here you go. A double back dismount, nice and high. anticipates the landing a little, kind of landed straight legs and had to take a big step, hop backwards. But she stayed on, and I think that's all she could think about.
Well, J.C. Phelps, who finished 6th in the all-around, should do that well here. Now we're back to Carrie Strug, who's going to perform on the floor exercise. If you take a look at the scores, her placings or points after the first 2 rotations, a 9.875 and 9.6 and change.
Watch her first tumbling pass, a double layout, an E move. Nice and high, very nicely done. Carrie is known for her tumbling prowess. We're going to see some popular bonus field front tumbling right here. A lot of the gymnasts are doing it. Front fold to a pike. Getting to see a little bit of a smile out of Carrie.
I'm unaccustomed to seeing her having fun in competition. We're so concerned about her nervousness. But I think at this point in the contest, she's certainly heading for that traveling spot.
Geza Pozar, one of the national team coaches, says that of all of the gymnasts on the U.S. national team, in terms of elegance and sophistication in dance, Carrie Strug is top. Ends with a double back. Actually, she was nice and high. She was just anticipating the landing and kind of popped out of it. But a great routine for Carrie.
Very enthusiastic response from this crowd. They got into the music as well.
Now watch her first tumbling pass. She's known for these big tumbling passes. You remember her as the youngest member on the '92 Olympic team. Here comes the double layout. 2 flips backwards in a completely stretched position. A very good job. Now this is the bonus-filled front tumbling that a lot of the gymnasts are doing. It's very popular because it's worth a lot value-wise. Front handspring, a front with full twist into an immediate front pike. One writer wrote one time that Carrie Strug said that Carrie Strug, seeing her do front tumbling is like seeing Carl Lewis run in shackles.
Interesting analogy. Carrie Strug's marks a 9.60. She seems nonplussed about it. Let's take a look at that last pass once more. Little skid on the landing, I thought.
A little bit. She has so much power and energy in her tumbling. You can see she gets up nice and high. Let's watch. Nice and high. She practically drops out of the air, but kind of lands with a little forward, leaning forward. And her legs are a little straight.
We'll be back with more of these great gymnasts at the World Team Trials in Richmond right after this. Carrie Strug relaxing now, getting a little work on that back that had been giving her troubles earlier in the year. Her scores on the floor exercise, a 9.5 with the skid marks included. And before that, the balance beam, J.C. Phelps earned a 9.6. Now we go to Amanda Borden, who's over on the balance beam. She's currently in 3rd place.
She's going to be doing a front onto the balance beam. It is a D move. Remember, skills are valued on a scale from A to E, A being the most basic element and E being the most difficult. A D move gives you 1/10 of bonus and E gives you 2. Into an immediate jump. A nice job. Remember, the balance beam requires so much exactness, deliberate moves, full extension.
We'll probably see more of this in the next rotation, but Amanda has a reputation for playing to the crowd.
With that infectious smile of hers. She had a problem on that tumbling pass. She lands with her feet together on her layout, which is a different variation, and her hips were off to the side, so went her body. Normally she works with such confidence on this event. Here's that front similar to her mount, but on the beam this time. And she jumps out of it again. Remember, experience and maturity becomes a major issue on the balance beam. This is a make you or break you event. In a competition like this, the girls have a tendency to hold back and not connect their elements. Therefore, they lose a lot of the bonus that they're thinking they're going to get. There's the warning bell, and she gets ready for her dismount. Back handspring, feet together, double back, a really nice landing. She really recovered well. She had the little bobble on her first tumbling pass, but she remained calm. She had composure, and she came back with a solid landing.
I think we had a little looseness in the belly today, do you think? Or the butterflies moving too fast? You know what, you know how to pull it together. Like I see you up and like, stop it. You did a good job. You know it wasn't your best, but it was, you hung in there, you did a good job. You like doubted everything just a little bit. Good job, though.
Mary Lee Tracy, a very articulate coach, dealing with the needs and desires of their athletes. We look at the rerun.
Here's her first pass. Here you see a flip-flop, flip-flop. Now lay out, step out, feet together. Watch how she does this. Her hips get a little out of line, and her, like her coach said, her tummy wasn't tight. You need to have your center of gravity directly over the balance beam and pull up. But she recovers well with a nice dismount. Double back to a good landing.
So early in the third rotation, Amanda Borden turns in a performance that will likely keep her in good position on this U.S. traveling squad. We'll be back with more of the third rotation after this. Welcome back to Richmond, Virginia. Amanda Borden's score on the beam, a 9.525. She doesn't seem very thrilled about that, but she still has one rotation remaining in this contest. This meet here in Richmond, Virginia marks the first major competition in a long while on U.S. soil where the field did not include any athletes coached by either the great Bella Caroli or the famous Steve Nuno. We took this opportunity to get better acquainted with some of the coaches who are here. During much of the 80s, gymnastics was personified by the larger-than-life presence of arguably the best coach in the world, Bella Caroli. This Romanian native produced such greats as Kim Zmeskal, the world all-around champion, and Olympic gold medalists Mary Lou Retton and Nadia Comaneci. When Shannon Miller performed in Barcelona, it was Steve Nuno, a Caroli apprentice, who received the credit. These two coaches have enjoyed the lion's share of the media spotlight for over 10 years, simply because of the success achieved by their students. With neither of these men entering athletes in these World Team trials, we took the opportunity to ask some of the other coaches present if they feel overshadowed by their better-known peers.
I guess I don't feel like I've ever been denied the limelight, because every time she's in it, I feel like I'm in it with her. It is a very much a two-way street for us. It's a partnership in coaching, and I just know her so well. Whether we get more media or press, I don't know.
Well, the reputation of Nuno and Caroli is not that of a partner, but that of a benevolent dictator, or in some cases a Svengali. Is this women coaches different from men coaches, or are we talking about two unique cases here?
I think all men are different than all women, so I think we have a unique way of coaching and trying to relate to our athletes.
I do think it's difficult for a woman. There's just an image in women's gymnastics that the men are more powerful. And people like Kelly Hill and myself, we stick together a lot in a lot of situations. But I do think that we're getting recognized more for our work. You know, our product is in our athletes, and you know, I feel like I get respect now, but you have to earn it.
Without the females in this country who are really boosting, I feel, the performance level, I don't think the USA team would be at the height that it is. And that goes right down the line. There's some very strong programs that the male coaches are getting all of the recognition, but in that same program there is a female that is really directing the show.
The bottom line for these coaches is the athletic and personal well-being of the young women in their care.
A coach in gymnastics is a different sort of creature, especially if you have one coach or two. So you're a teacher and a mentor, and you're a choreographer, and then in the end you're also a meet coach. So our sport's kind of difficult that way. But very practically speaking, you have to get the job done, and every coach develops his or her personal style, and they do it. And the people who succeed are those that do have a style, and they know how to get the job done their way. And so even though it might not be your style, you go, well, it's successful, that's good. The only other criteria, I think, is that they're young women. They're not just things to be manipulated. The only time I have a problem is when I feel that that young women are not being allowed to gradually become more independent and to develop their lives along with their sport.
Here's the man himself, Steve Nuno, the coach of America's most credentialed gymnast in history. Steve, we're glad to have you join us here.
Thank you, John.
How is Shannon? What's the story with her?
She's doing great, actually. She's well rested, and she's, for the first time, feeling pretty good about herself after the kind of a loss at the national championships, but she had a stress fracture in her shin, and it's feeling really good right now, so she's enjoying gymnastics.
She's okay now. Is she going to Germany with the U.S. team?
Well, I think it's probably in her best interest not to go, because one of the things that we were trying to find out with this trials was to make sure the USA was going to send a very healthy, strong team. It looks like they've got a great team, so I think we're going to hold out on this one.
Steve, given the new rule, the 7-person rule, there is an opportunity for Shannon to maybe go and compete just 2 events. Is that something you may consider?
Well, we were considering that more of it. What we wanted to do was to try to find out what was in the best interest of Shannon's health. She's been competing so many times this year. She's been in 5 international competitions. At some point, you have to have an off season.
Shannon was not your only athlete to qualify to compete here. You had a couple of others. Where are they?
They are training with Shannon in the gym every day. They were at the Goodwill Games this summer, and it was a long competition. They were in 8 different meets in the month of August, and I just decided it was probably in the best interest to keep them out for the fall and train them.
Do they or their families resent not being able to make a world team?
No, it was a group decision. Actually, they felt real good about it. I think next year is going to be a very, very important year for the USA and also for those athletes, and of course we've got our eye on Atlanta.
The question I have, Steve, is, you know, it's very important for the U.S. team to uphold their bronze medal finish from the '92 Olympic Games.
Absolutely.
Is that something they can do in November without Shannon Miller?
I'll tell you, this team looks very strong. I think they've got a couple of good young rookies, but they also have some great veterans. And, you know, with the return of Carrie Strug, she looks very good. And Amanda Borden and Dominique just look great, of course, and as always. So I think we've got a very strong team, and they'll come out with a medal for sure.
Steve, let us invite you to stay with us here at our announce position, because coming up after the short commercial break, the great and awesome Dominique Dawes will be performing for us all. We're back now. Awesome Dominique Dawes is getting ready to perform on the balance beam in the 3rd rotation. She has a comfortable lead, and Steve Nuno, as you take a look at these great scores, how do you think Shannon would be comparing with this field today?
Well, she'd sure have a tough time keeping up. I mean, you know that Dominique has just been so on fire lately. I think she's rock solid. She's got an air of confidence that I've just never seen around her for the past year, and I think that she didn't have her work cut out for her, but of course she's always game for a good competition.
This is definitely one of Dominique's solid events. She's very solid and confident on the balance beam. She's had some problems with form breaks, leg separation, but really that's about it. She's going to do her big tumbling pass. She fits 4 elements on the beam. Back handspring, layout, step out, layout, step out, layout, step out. 3 of them there. Nice job.
And that's unusual. She had a slight bobble there at the end, and that's very unusual for Dominique. When she's on, she goes for all 3 and nails them. That was just a slight wobble, and there's another one from Dominique. I'm surprised. This is very unusual.
You've been watching the American athletes performing here this evening. Do you see them just playing it safe and making the team, or do you see them giving their best efforts?
I think they are just a slight bit off. I mean, with the exception of Dominique, which actually...
That's a major deduction.
It's very uncharacteristic for her. She's usually very, very solid on this event, and I think she feels a little unchallenged. I think she likes to have a big challenge in a competition. I think it gives her the push that she needs to focus, and you know, with the absence of Shannon and a couple of other great gymnasts that could be in the competition, and with all the field, I think that she would be a little more solid.
Could the same
dismount, though? No twisting double back. Has to pay attention to that.
Phenomenal. She's the only girl in the world that does that trick that I've seen in the past 3 or 4 years, and she's just so solid.
Could the same thing be said about Shannon Miller benefiting from the competition provided by Dominique Dawes?
Oh, absolutely. I think Dominique has pushed Shannon for the last couple of years with the absence of some of the great gymnasts who were on the team in '92.
Look at the second pass where she had the difficulty.
Right here, as she finishes her somersault, she drops her right arm, and you can see it throws her shoulder off, and it makes her whole center of gravity off the side of the beam. And now she's trying to regain it. It's amazing she stayed on at all.
That's about the same deduction as a fall, I would say.
Pretty close to it. I think the judges will be a little lenient on Dominique, but...
While we wait those scores, Larissa Fontaine is awaiting at the floor exercise area. She's currently in 6th place. She's on the bubble. If Shannon decides to compete, Larissa would currently be in the alternate spot.
Larissa looks very good. I think she's very solid right now. I think she took off a little bit from the championship so she could be on this team. And right there, nails a big trick. That is world class, and that's going to score well even at World Championships.
She's coming off a very successful bars routine. That confidence carries over from apparatus to apparatus.
It sure does. And her experience, and people don't realize, Larissa Fontaine's been around a long, long time. She is a veteran, even though she wasn't on the Olympic team. She's a veteran competitor, and this kind of competition brings out the best in her, too.
Her first tumbling pass, an Arabian double front, is an E move, worth 2/10 of bonus, and it's only one of 2 in this competition. Amanda Borden also does the first tumbling pass in Arabian double front.
As you can see, she's a very good front tumbler. It's unusual to have good back tumbling with a mixture of good front tumbling, and Larissa is well-rounded in both areas.
And of course, Steve, it's very popular to do good front tumbling because of the front twisting bonus that we're seeing in the code of points this year. Everybody is kind of saving their body and getting big bonus on front tumbling.
It can be. Sometimes it's a little difficult. The skills themselves can be easy, but it's hard to mix them in.
She seems to have an easy time with them,
She's got an easy time with that. That was a good, solid performance for Larissa.
We're going to take another look at her Arabian double front.
What's really difficult to understand is when you're going backward with a half twist, this skill is so blind to the sight. Even though you're going forward, she's blind right here. She can't see the floor and nails it.
Very difficult to land.
That's why it's an E skill.
Larissa Fontaine made her first major international appearance at the '94 World Championships, where she placed 17th in the all-around. And here she's trying to make the U.S. team to get a medal, perhaps, at the games in Germany just a couple of weeks away. Dominique Dawes marks on the balance beam a 9.575. We'll have the Fontaine remarks after this short break. Thanks to Steve Nuno for joining us in the booth. Stay with us for great competition. Floor X and beam still to come. Welcome back, John Neighbor and Maura Driscoll, as we're watching Larissa Fontaine, who just received a 9.625 on her floor exercise program in the 3rd rotation. So now as we take a look at our leaderboard, our standings show that Dominique Dawes leads the field to no great surprise. Carrie Strug in 2nd place. The battle for the team, the bubble, is between 6 and 7. Larissa Fontaine, the last qualifier at this point. Kara Fry would be the alternate at this point when you don't count in Shannon Miller. Shannon Miller's score right now would put her in 2nd place behind Dominique Dawes. Now in 4th place, Amy Chow at 68.85 points. About ready to perform her 4th rotation, and it's going to be the floor exercise.
Amy Chow has so much difficulty on the floor exercise. Again, she does a lot of things that nobody else does. We mentioned earlier she plays the piano. Well, her piano teacher helped choose her floor exercise music.
I don't think I know anybody I'd rather trust.
That's a good point. Pay special attention to her tumbling passes because based on her dance, she's kind of lacking in full extension of movement. But her tumbling passes are certainly full and extended. And here's her first full twisting double pike. Beautifully done.
Seems like we've lost music in the...
If you notice, her music has stopped, but she's continuing her floor routine. This requires so much composure, and she's just a young athlete. The audience is starting to clap. She's getting ready for her second tumbling. A Rudy, which is worth an E. This is very interesting for Amy because she's not very comfortable with this kind of expression, and the crowd is really getting involved.
Amy had some participation in the sport of diving, some showmanship there, but mostly a rather quiet and reserved young lady.
We're going to have to find what happened exactly, if it was a malfunctioning of the tape player.
I think a lesser mature athlete would have stopped.
I agree.
She's showing a lot of poise.
She certainly is. This is her last tumbling pass, and everybody is involved. A front through to a triple twist. A little low, but incredible, and look at her smile. Now, Amy has the option at any point to stop this routine, but she has decided to finish. And look at the response she received. You know, John, I think that's just the thing that Amy Chow needs to take her out of her shell. She is such a shy individual, and that was a really neat experience.
What a signal that sends to the rest of the U.S. team. You can see they're working on the audio tape machine. The athletes bring their music recorded.
I have never seen her smile so much.
To go with. Man. Front looked a little flat, actually.
Amy Chow's coaches, Mark Young and Diane Amos.
Dance was nice. He did stuff as
Now, we talked about Kara Fry being on the bubble for this U.S. traveling squad. In the third rotation, she performed a floor exercise, and this is how it looked. The 15-year-old just turned 16 this week.
She is from Parquet in Pennsylvania, and they have 3 gymnasts at this competition. The first tumbling pass, a full twisting double back in the pike position, very nicely done. You know, the floor exercise, in my opinion, really represents the true dichotomy in women's gymnastics. On one hand, the gymnast needs to be powerful and explosive and strong. And on the other hand, she has to be graceful and elegant and beautiful. That's a lot to ask of one person. Front through to a triple full, not all the way around, but a pretty difficult tumbling pass.
Kara Fry's nickname, Smiley. She likes watching TV and movies. She's certainly playing to the crowd here.
That's what the floor exercise is all about, showmanship and performance. Harmony of movement and music. And of course, taking a breather before your last tumbling pass. Front handspring, Rudy, and she steps out of bounds. It's a 1/10 deduction. But she really has a lot of difficulty in her tumbling.
So that was Kara Fry's performance in the third rotation. That step out on the final tumbling pass, a significant deduction.
We're going to take another look at it here. It's front tumbling. She does a front handspring. Another front handspring into a Rudy, which is a 1.5 twist forward, and she steps out of bounds. You see, it's just 1 foot out of bounds as far as I can see. And here's her coach.
Robin Netwall from the Parkettes watching from the sidelines, and the frustration on her face is evident as well. That performance on the floor earned Kara Fry a 9.4. So now we're going to Amanda Borden. We talked about her on beam, saying she really plays to the crowd. I'm looking forward to this performance, Maura.
She really has a lot of fun in this event. She has that infectious smile, and she really knows how to sell it.
Currently in third place behind Dawes and Carrie Strug.
She's going to open with the same tumbling pass that we saw Larissa Fontaine do, very difficult to land, in Arabian double front. She has a very playful routine. An excellent landing. When she was warming that up, she was over-rotating it, but she did such a great job there. dynamic personality coming out in this floor exercise routine. Very strong, powerful, nice jump. Her last tumbling pass, 2.5 twists to a pretty good landing, a great routine. I know she's happy to be done, and there's that smile we were talking about.
Great job. Beautiful tumbling.
Just everything. Dance, everything. I was just beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Amanda Borden finishes her performance, her 4th rotation. Amy Chow earlier in that musically impaired program earned a 9.625, which is a fine score for the youngster. When we come back, we'll have Amanda's score on the floor, plus the performance of Dominique Dawes in the floor exercise. With Amanda Borden packing up at the conclusion of her performance, the score on the floor exercise, a 9.85, the highest marks on that apparatus thus far in the contest. So after 3 rotations, a close battle for the final spot on the traveling squad. Assuming that Shannon Miller joins the team, this 6th and 7th and 8th battle will choose the alternate on the traveling, or the last spot on the traveling squad. Larissa Fontaine right now on the bubble. She's performing on beam right now. Came off a good floor exercise and bars routine. Bronze medalist at the American Classic this year.
Here's her dismount. Oh, my goodness. What she was supposed to do was open up and straddle down, and she was a little off. It was a back tuck straddle down, and that's a fall, a 5/10 deduction. She has problems in big meets on this event. At the World Championships in Brisbane, she was very tentative. Although she didn't fall, she didn't get a lot of her connection bonus, so she had a 9.5 start. Remember, for the gymnasts, these routines do not automatically start worth a 10.0. They actually start with a 9.4, and then it's up to the gymnast to raise the value by doing various connections and D and E moves to raise the value to a 10.0. So it's much more difficult than you would assume. Big tumbling pass, round off layout, feet together. Very good job. She was having problems with that in warm-ups.
Larissa, a Chicago Bulls fan, hails from Deerfield, Illinois. Being coached here by the national team coaches, predominantly.
She's getting a lot of help, particularly on balance beam and floor exercise, by Muriel Grossfeld, who was my coach, and Muriel that's definitely her forte, choreography. A very nice job. Punch front into an immediate jump. She's really regained her composure well. Whenever you fall in your mount, it's the most depressing thing. And a double back dismount. She recovered pretty well. It's unfortunate she fell on her mount.
The unfortunate turnaround for Larissa Fontaine might work to the advantage of Cara Fry, who is on the bubble just behind Fontaine and could make the traveling squad as a result of this mistake.
Well, let's see what she did. She does a round off. She wants to do sort of a back tuck, open up, and then straddle down, but she was a little off to the side. You can see she dropped her right shoulder, which took her body and her momentum off the balance beam. That's a very tough move to save if you're off.
Now everyone is looking forward to this routine, as am I. Dominique Dawes needs a 5.5 to tie the score that Shannon Miller turned in and is competing under.
And this is where she got the name Awesome Dawson.
Floor exercise, she earned a perfect 10 in this event at a dual meet against Japan and Phoenix a few years back. You saw the scores thus far in the contest.
John, you have to watch this tumbling. It just never stops. She does multiple flips and twists. And a little bit of a problem there. Two and a half twists into immediate punch front. It is a crowd pleaser. She just keeps tumbling, and the bonus tenths keep on coming.
We asked Dominic if she felt a lot of pressure coming into this meet without Shannon Miller. She said none whatsoever until all the media started asking me questions.
That's right. Never thought of it, she said. A full twisting double back in the pike position. She's an amazing tumbler. As Steve Nuno said to us, she's been on fire lately.
And this is showing some resilience after a disappointing beam routine. She comes back with a big floor.
Well, if there's any event she can do it on, it's this one. Setting up for her last tumbling pass. A 2.5 twist. She's great on this event. And as usual, the crowd loves it. Dominique is an excellent tumbler. That's definitely one of her strengths on the floor exercise. She's very dynamic. She's been working a lot on her feet. She doesn't have an excellent toe point like a lot of the gymnasts do, but she's really come a long way over the years.
Well, there's no question that she'll be the top performer at this contest.
Now watch, this is her first, I guess, and second tumbling pass. 6 flips and 4.5 twists. I counted. She changes directions immediately, which is so difficult to do. Does a punch front, round of multiple flip-flops, 2.5 twists here into an immediate punch front. An excellent job. That is her signature tumbling pass. Now watch this one, her full twisting double back. Here she goes, excellent height. She twists and flips, two flips and 1 twist to a solid landing.
So Dominique Dawes, who has indicated an intent to enroll at Stanford when her Olympic aspirations are sidelined, 9.80, a wonderful score for her. And so that'll be a better score than Shannon Miller earned in total at the national championships. Larissa got a 9.15 for Fontaine in her last rotation, so she'll move down a notch. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Commonwealth of Virginia. We're at the Richmond Coliseum for the 1994 Nations Bank World Team Trials. John Neighbor and Maura Driscoll as we're watching Carrie Strug, who's currently in 2nd place, trying to earn her spot on the U.S. national team. As you take a look at the scores in her first 3 apparatus, strong and solid scores they are, but the beam is one that she wants to turn in a big performance to close off the day.
She has really done an excellent job on both compulsories and optionals, but as I've said many times, it's very tough to end on the balance beam. She wants to finish her job, and this is probably the toughest event to do that on.
This arena is laid out over an ice skating rink, and Carrie noted that from Phoenix she senses the cold temperature and it forces her to keep moving. She wiggles a lot before her routine.
It also has a lot to do with her intense concentration. She goes over her routine in her head over and over again. Her mount, same as Larissa Fontaine that she stayed on. You can see she kind of pulled her legs together to kind of grip onto the balance beam. It's one of her signature jumps. Touches her toes with the back of her head. And watch this. Oh, normally she keeps her leg up in a scale, but that was very nicely done. Gainer, layout, step out. Again, her elegance and sophistication in dance on the floor is also well noted on the balance beam. She looks very solid up there, John, and it's important to realize that she is not 100% back with her injury. Trust me, she's feeling discomfort.
And persisting in spite of it.
Exactly. Here's her big tumbling. Flip up, layout, step out to a solid landing. This is exactly the kind of events that this U.S. national team needs, these pressure events. They need more of these, actually, before World Championships, and I think the national team coaching staff is working on doing that because the girls can't be nervous. And Carrie, actually, for the first time tonight, ironically on the balance beam, does not look nervous.
The bell signifying 10 seconds before a penalty is assessed. She gets off the beam in ample time.
An excellent routine, and she is so relieved right now, and you could see that expression on her face. This is her tumbling pass. Back handspring, 2 layouts in a row. Flip-flop, layout, step out, a little knee bend. And an excellent landing. She knows exactly where her body is. Every movement is deliberate. Shows her years of experience in her dismount, a round-off double back. Nice height, pulls it around. A little forward on the landing. Nice job for Carrie Strug.
Fantastic performance. We'll be back with her score in just a moment. We're back at the Nations Bank World Team Trials. Final performer of this competition, J.C. Phelps, a bronze medalist at the Olympic Festival this year. She's now earned her spot on the U.S. team with a good performance on the floor right now.
J.C. is very pretty on this event. She has pretty hands and pretty extension, but she still lacks a little of maturity. She is the youngest member on the U.S. national team. First tumbling pass, whipped through a triple full. Solid tumbling run for J.C. She's really held up in this pressure-filled meet. Front through to a front full. For J.C.
You hung in there. It was a good effort.
Okay.
This might have turned a D into a C, that's all. Because if you take, you made the World Championship team. You got nothing to hang your head about, child. Not a darn thing.
Athletes, please prepare to march to the staging area.
She said turn a D into a C.
What she meant is that her D move, because it wasn't fully executed, the judges will devalue that skill to a C. So she'll lose a 10th of bonus.
But there's 2 teammates who are now on the U.S. team.
And this is her last tumbling pass. She does a front through to a front full. A little low and a little not that great on the form there, but really a great job for Jace. She has nothing to hang her head about, as Mary Lee Tracy said.
You had some boo-boos, but you know what? All we're going to do is get better before Worlds. That's all. You learn from the mistakes.
Looking ahead already. And here is Carrie Strug, whose official marks on her final apparatus a 9.7. And certainly she will qualify for this U.S. team, proving the appropriateness of her petition, asking for the right to compete at this event. We'll figure out all the numbers and give them to you when we return after this short break. Final results of today's Nations Bank World Team Trials. Dominique Dawes wins it handily. Carrie Strug and Amanda Borden following behind. Shannon Miller's scores easily place her on the team. 7 athletes will travel on behalf of the U.S. squad. As we take a look at that official team, the last one to make it is Larissa Fontaine, who had difficulty on beam but took the final spot on this squad. Let's now go down to Maura Driscoll, who's got Dominique Dawes and J.C. Phelps.
Dominique, you told me yesterday you didn't come into this meet to win, and here you are, the victor again. How do you feel about that?
I feel really good that I finished the competition and did the best that I could, because now going into Worlds, I can figure out what my problem areas were here and try to work on them.
One of those problem areas was the balance beam. Let's talk about what happened there.
Yeah, everyone can't be perfect all the time, and I had a lot of trouble on that event, and I'm going to go back to the gym and fix it.
That's a great attitude. What do you think you've learned being back-to-back champions of 2 major U.S. events as you head towards the World Championships?
It feels really good, especially since I beat USA Championship scores here, and even with the break on beam. I just know I have a lot more things to work on when I get back to the gym, like a release move on bars.
And what will you focus on in the balance beam, since that is a pressure event at World Championships in Dortmund?
Well, just think cool, calm, and confident, and just do what I always do.
And you always do, stick balance beam. Congratulations and good luck in Germany.
Thanks.
And J.C. Phelps, you've just become the youngest member of this World Championship team. What do you think about that?
I'm pretty excited because this is my first year being on the senior team, so I'm excited about going.
You're the youngest member, but you do have a teammate, your elder teammate, Amanda Borden. How has she helped you through this competition?
She's got me more prepared because she's come to meets like this before, and so she just got me better prepared.
Are you excited that you're going to have a teammate on the road in Germany?
Yeah, that will be helpful, have someone to push me along.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot more, and we'll be sure to follow these athletes' exploits and their results when they compete in Dortmund, Germany in mid-November. For my partner, Maura Driscoll, I'm John Neighbor saying thanks for joining us here in Richmond for the selection of this year's U.S. Women's Gymnastics team.